Hey everyone. So I've been thinking about this week's message from Giselle about how it doesn't look like biblically to respect authority. One story in the Bible that I was repeatedly drawn to was King Saul's murderous attempts, or rather pursuits of an innocent David in the book of 1 Samuel. Actually, David had two chances to rid himself of the unjust authority that sought to persecute him, but he stayed his hand twice. It was in particular the second opportunity in chapter 26 that stood out to me. David and his own army of 400 men hid in the wilderness and had spies find out where Saul was camped. While Saul and his men slept, David's general Abishai urged him to kill the king. He believed it was God's will, understandably so, because David was anointed to become the next king of Israel anyway, and clearly Saul was corrupt. Saul was already rejected as king for refusing to obey the word of the Lord through Samuel earlier on in chapter 15. In any event, listen to what David says in response to Abishai's advice to kill Saul. This is in verse 11 of chapter 26. All right. The Lord forbid that I should stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. So, now listen to the faith that David has as he explains to Saul why he didn't kill the Lord's anointed. May the Lord repay every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness, for the Lord delivered you into my hand today. But I would not stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. And indeed, as your life is valued much this day in my eyes, so let my life be valued much in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation. So, on Sunday, we touch on Romans 13, verses 1 to 7, in particular, verses 1 to 2, talks about how all authority is given from the Lord. So, it's God-given, basically. So we see that positions of authority are ultimately from God, but we saw with King Saul of old, as well as in modern times, that sometimes we have leaders that don't seem to be fit for the position. I can attest that when we are put in unfair situations, they actually build us up to be better Christians for harder trials down the road. Around 2015, I was actually pulled over by a police officer for making a bad turn. It was my fault. I deserved to get pulled over, but it was totally an accident. I didn't mean to make this bad judgment call. In any event, obviously there are great police officers out there. I know some personally, but this officer was not so great. He proceeded to curse me out and really caused my flesh to really want to rise up and to defend myself. And I felt like he was being way harsher than was necessary, even though I was responding in what I felt was a humble tone. But I felt like the peace of God just washed over me, and I just decided to just like keep responding as respectfully as possible. It wasn't out of fear. It was just, I just felt like it was the right thing to do. I just felt like that's what the Lord wanted me to respond. And the officer wound up letting me go with a warning, which was the first time I ever got let go with just a warning for any kind of traffic stop. So still blows my mind to this day. That being said, just because figures of authority are wrong or offend us doesn't mean we have the right to act any kind of way. Always pray and trust the Holy Spirit to guide you in every situation. A kind word turns away wrath, when maybe the Spirit will lead you to say a respectful word in season because of opportunity gained through your humility. When we learn to depend on God, who is the ultimate judge, we can rest knowing that we don't have to strive through worldly means to convince leaders to act more like Christ. Let us all lead by example ourselves. I'll close with a psalm of praise from David, who felt oppressed at one point, but he saw God's faithfulness and wanted to leave words of encouragement after the trials that he went through. This is Psalms 145, chapter 17 to 20. Verses 17 to 21. The Lord is righteous in all his ways, gracious in all his works. The Lord is near to all who call upon him, to all who call upon him in truth. He will fulfill the desire of those who fear him. He also will hear their cry and save them. The Lord preserves all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. My mouth shall speak the praise of the Lord, and all flesh shall bless his holy name forever and ever. God bless you guys.
Hey guys, what's up? If you don't already know me, I'm Maggie and I'm one of your high school ministry facilitators. And I wanted to share with you today a practical way that I've lived under authority as a Christian. So a few years ago, my grandmother, who was a pastor of a church here in Harlem, asked me to lead praise and worship for her service. And now, I'm not a singer, nor a soloist, or any of the above. So when she asked me to do this, my first expression was, no, I'm not doing this. Like, why would you ask me? And I had all these reasons and all these excuses as to why I'm not the person for the job. I mean, I'm not a singer. Why would you even ask me that? But I realized that she was the person of authority over me as a member of her church, number one, and I never even took a moment to pray about it. So I know that's always the go-to Christianese answer when someone asks you to do something that you don't really want to do. I'll pray about it, but I did pray about it. And what I felt God telling me was to do it. I sensed God saying to me, you know, who else would do it if you don't do it? You know, there's a need and you're the person for the job to fulfill the need. Who else is going to do it? And if you're not obedient in the small things, how can I give you a greater task to do? So I did do it. And for the last 4 years, I was the praise and worship leader for my grandma's church up until she passed away in February. And it's been a blessing, I must say. People would come up to me after service like, wow, that was so great. You really ministered to me. And I'm just like, what in the world? Did they hear the same thing I heard? Because no. But I really, God really spoke to me through all of that. And I just realized that it just wasn't about me. It was about what he can do through me. Like when God asks us to do things that are outside of our comfort zone, he doesn't need us to do it. He just needs us to take the first step and he'll do the rest. And that's really what I've seen him do in my life, where all I had to do was be obedient to the authority over me. And he honored my obedience by just blessing many people, blessing me too as well. Like not even just other people, but blessing me as well. So I've seen him do amazing things in the last 4 years in my life for just me taking that small step of obedience, and he's really blown my mind with that. And if there's one thing that I would like you to take away from this story, it's that when God asks you to do things that are outside of your comfort zone that might cause you to stretch a little bit, remember that he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. And if he's asking us to do something, then there's a reason for it. There's clearly, he wants to use this for his purposes, for his glory. So just do it. I mean, as long as the person who's asking you to do something doesn't do something that contradicts with the Bible, your relationship with God, and your values, then go for it, because it's likely to stretch you and it's likely to help you to move to the next level and glorify God and be a blessing to somebody else. So I just pray that you take something from this and that you have an amazing week. Bye. God bless you.